Hi everyone, my name is Charlie and today I've lost my parking space. Of course, there are no official parking spaces at my work. However, the BMW driver who usually parks across from me is parked in my space because a person who does not work here, who does not live here, has abandoned their car here. And yes, I can tell it's abandoned because of all the condensation. What this means is that somebody has been and they got a little bit tipsy last night and decided to leave their car in my car park. Naturally, it's not my car park, it's the landlord's. Of course, there's more than one business here and we should be pleased about all that. But I'm currently parked next to the container whose door can slam open and ruin a car, so that's always fun. I'm also mildly diagonal because I could not figure out this space this morning on, one cup of tea. 1 pint of tea just doesn't do it. Anyway, the white Hyundai tried to kill me again. Well, actually, it tried to kill an Audi driver in front of me. Final roundabout on the dual carriageway, the driver of a white Hyundai decided to enter the roundabout without looking, whilst on their phone, not noticing that the Audi driver in front of me had entered the roundabout, and so had to slam their brakes on so that they didn't crash into the side of her. But it's perfectly okay. She didn't even notice because she was still on her phone. I know that I have been behind this driver before now, definitely because she turned into one of the businesses on the way into Poynton, and this has happened to me before. They drive below the speed limit mostly all the way to work simply because they spend all of that time texting and playing away on their phone. Great stuff. So what have you been up to since we last spoke? It's been a while. Naturally, I'm going to talk about myself here because, you can't actually speak to me yet. So I've been on holiday these last 12 days? 11 days? I finished last Monday and now we're here. Last Tuesday, I can't think that I did anything. Last Wednesday, the mother and I were supposed to be going and seeing the new Fantastic Beasts film. And I said, no, let's not go today because it's the first week. Let's leave it till next week and we'll go to one of the morning showings when there'll be no children there. It's not that I don't like children. It's that when I go to the cinema, I like it to be completely silent. My favourite times at the cinema are when there's barely anybody there. It also does, to do with my huge fear of crowds, but we'll talk about that another day. So we're going to skip ahead now. We're going to go to this Wednesday. And so this Wednesday at 10:30 in the morning, me and my mother arrived for this morning showing of Fantastic Beasts as two school coaches pull up, as this is the children's school treat for Christmas. Me and my mother turned around and went to B&M Bargains, did some shopping, and then I took her to breakfast. She came and had her nails done. I did a few hours in work, and then we went home. We went to my grandmother's. I bought my mother an advent calendar. I watched Dinner Ladies at my nan's. A fun time was had, although my nan does now want to actually try and get out of the house again next week, which is going to be fun, fantastic, because I don't know whether anybody knows this, but it's December tomorrow. And I know I've talked about it before, but Christmas Fest at work is probably the only day that we ever have to open the shop late, and so we're going to be open until nearly well, we're going to be here till 10 o'clock in the evening, basically. And then my nan wants to go out on the Wednesday. So I'm not even officially in work. I'm coming in work to help out, and then I'm supposed to be doing that. Now, I don't know whether you know this about Christmas Fest, but if you look back at my Vlogmas videos last year, because that's the thing that's happening as well, then you will discover that the Christmas Fest last year completely knackered me. I developed a fast addiction to Costa coffee. I actually put on weight. Thank you, December. And honestly, there are days last year that I just don't remember. Anyway, to go to last week again, I didn't really do much with my time off. I read some books, which is always fun, and then I got to it might have been this Sunday just gone, or before that even, and I just couldn't be bothered reading. I picked up the book that I was supposed to be reading, and that was Moriarty, and was reading that for this coordinated TBR I've done, and thought, no, I don't want to read that. So I started River Road, which was one of my Willoughby Book Club books, and it's not for me. It's a thriller following this character of Nancy, who a few years before, her daughter was killed in a hit and run on this road outside her house, and this night she ends up hitting what she assumes is a deer, and then the next morning the police are quizzing her because one of her students has been killed in a hit and run accident. The town turns against her. Is it her? I can't say how the mystery is solved. However, I can say that the mystery was easily solved by me, and I skipped right to the end because I just couldn't be bothered with it. I wanted to read it because it mentioned Christmas, and I thought that I might be able to recommend it for this Cloak and Dagger Christmas thing. I'm not part of it, but I just thought, nice recommendation for people. But it isn't for me. I don't tend to keep thrillers anyway. It's not really something that I read regularly. And so that one got pushed to the wayside, and then I just could not get into any of the books. I wanted to try and read Harry Potter. I wanted to try and read Northern Lights again because it's been so long since I read that book, and I want to finish the series because I feel like it's a book that I should have read. I'm writing a children's book, and I feel like I should have read the classics from children's literature, and that includes the modern classics, because I have read, when I was writing this book the first time, I got Peter Pan, I got Alice in Wonderland, I read The Jungle Book. I mean, that wasn't a chore for me. I loved that book. Anyway, now we're here. So I ended up actually writing this week, and I discovered that I actually put a lot of obstacles in place when I am writing. Specifically, just coming up with reasons as to why I can't write, why things are so difficult. And I keep viewing this redraft as though it's not just my first draft again, because it has been 4 years since I finished writing the children's book the first time around, and I knew then there were so many issues with it. And I've said, I'm glad I've left it so long, and I've written Doris, and I've broken all the rules that I was taught at university about writing, because now that I know them, I can break them, I know how to break them, and I'm doing this draft to give it clarity. I've said that all along, and I keep saying it on here. And so it is really a first draft for me to properly understand this story again, and also to just try and have it make more sense, but also give characters more authority in their own world. And so what I finished this week was what had originally been chapter 5. So I've mentioned how chapter 5 in the first draft is the longest chapter out of all of the chapters, and way too much happens. There are too many revelations, too many characters, too many things going on, and I always knew I'd have to take that and separate it. Originally I thought, you'll be okay, separate it into 2 chapters, and then thanks to my friends Lily of Lykios Reads and Lindsay, who has read and edited both of the Doris books, then I thought I knew that the changes I had to make at the start would warrant changes for chapter 4 and chapter 5 and so on and so forth. So chapters have been split apart and Frankensteined, and it's been this great process for me to see what still works, what plot points I still want in there but maybe need to change a bit. And also it's been great to say to myself, this is just a first draft again, you know, just treat it like a first draft, get it finished, come back and make it pretty later. But then that's the thing, I don't know about my writing anymore, because my writing back then was very full of description, and my friends will tell you I was very heavily focused on showing over telling, so everything was about suggestion, and questions weren't being answered, and it pickled my brain, and I don't know what it did to anybody else's. It was a very stressful time writing the book the first time round. It's not so stressful this time, because it seems that as soon as I'm in the world, it's very much a case of, well, you know the story, just get it down. And that's what I've been doing, but now I worry that my writing is too plain. It was very descriptive before, and there were passages of that first draft where I thought, how did I write like this? Because I've completely changed as a writer. I don't much care, even as a writer and a reader, I don't much care for flowery lyrical description anymore. I very much like it when a book is straight to the point. And maybe it's just, I feel like I've become more northern, if that makes any sense, in the last few years. And so it's weird trying to mesh styles together, which has also resulted in me having to change the way things are written as well, which is perfectly fine by me. Sometimes trying to make something sound different for the purposes of just having something sound different, not sounding the same, is just silly. Sometimes it is easy just to write something completely plainly and clearly, and it can still sound good. And maybe that's another issue I have. Maybe it goes back to a time of me being much younger and me being influenced by Tumblr and me feeling like everything had to be quotable. But nowadays, I really don't care. I'd much more just write the thing down than think, oh, this passage could be great if you just shoved in some unwanted life advice. So that doesn't happen anymore. We cut everything philosophical out of there, anything where Charlie was being a bit of an idiot. And it's such fun. I don't know I don't have a plan for when I want to finish the book. All I do know is that, as I've said, I want to send this off to agents and try and see whether I can get this book traditionally published, because I feel like this book needs more than just... It deserves more, is all I can think as a way to put it. I always envisaged bringing the Partridge Muse books out myself, but I always knew there were books in me that I wanted to try and get traditionally published. If that makes any sense to anybody at all. But yes, also do feel free to tell me about what you've been reading or what you've been writing over these last 2 weeks. Alright. I should probably go, because I am actually going to have a volunteer here soon who will want letting in and will want a cup of tea. I did plan to try and do some writing whilst I was here, but I don't think that's happening because I just really wanted to speak to you today. Anyway, if you want to discuss anything that I've talked about today, please feel free to do so in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time, that is all.